Hello. Welcome back to Poetry Lockdown. We're at day 267. Um, so I've been enjoying bringing back some poets that have been featured earlier on the web series. Today we're doing that again. Seamus Heaney, one of my favorite poets, beloved Irish poet of the world, really. I was super pumped when Mark Piper, Chicago friend, featured when I invited people, and that invite, by the way, is wide open if you ever want to jump in on this crazy poetry action. Mark Piper, back in the summer, read Heaney's great poem "Double Take," which is a poem, by the way, that has been on the lips of President-elect Biden, who is a reader of poetry, which is good. It's great to have a president-elect who's reading verse. I love it. That poem's wonderful. There's that line, "Hope and history rhyme." It's just got like this. It's got a gravitas. I can see why it's on Biden's lips in his speeches. But I was thinking about that poem, and I started thinking about what are my favorite Heaney poems. And actually, I think I like some of his quieter, more portrait-style poems. And so that's the one I want to read for you. But it also hits on some of those familiar political themes, and I think also speaks to our moment. So poem I'm going to read is a poem called "Casualty." I'll talk a little bit about its background because there's some like background knowledge that's helpful. But I also linked to a site on Poetry Foundation that has great background on it. So if you read it, you listen to me blathering on about it, and it doesn't make sense, just go to that website. It's better. All right, "Casualty" by Seamus Heaney. He would drink by himself and raise a weathered thumb towards the high shelf, calling another rum and blackcurrant without having to raise his voice, or order a quick stout by a lifting of the eyes and a discreet dumb show of pulling off the top. At closing time would go in waiters and peaked cap into the showery dark, a dole-kept breadwinner, but a natural for work. I loved his whole manner, sure-footed but too sly, his deadpan sidling tact, his fisherman's quick eye, and turned observant back. Incomprehensible to him, my other life. Sometimes on his high stool, too busy with his knife at a tobacco plug and not meeting my eye, in the pause after a slug, he mentioned poetry. We would be on our own and always politic and shy of condescension. I would manage by some trick to switch the talk to eels or lore of the horse and cart or the provisionals. But my tentative art, his turn back watches too. He was blown to bits out drinking in a curfew others obeyed. 3 nights after they shot dead the 13 men in Derry. Paras 13, the walls said, Bogside nil. That Wednesday, everybody held their breath and trembled. 2. It was a day of cold, raw silence. Wind-blown surplice and soutane rained on, flower-laden. Coffin after coffin seemed to float from the door of the packed cathedral like blossoms on slow water. The common funeral unrolled its swaddling band, lapping, tightening, till we were braced and bound like brothers in a ring. But he would not be held at home by his own crowd, whatever threats were phoned, whatever black flags waved. I see him as he turned in that bombed, offending place, remorse fused with terror in his still knowable face, his cornered, out-faced stare blinding in the flash. He had gone miles away, for he drank like a fish, nightly, naturally swimming towards the lure of warm, lit-up places, the blurred mesh and murmur drifting among glasses in the gregarious smoke. How culpable was he that last night when he broke our tribe's complicity? Now you're supposed to be an educated man, I hear him say. Puzzle me the right answer to that one. 3. I missed his funeral. Those quiet walkers and sideways talkers shoaling out of his lane to the respectable purring of the hearse. They move in equal pace with the habitual slow consolation of a dawdling engine. The line lifted, hand over fist, cold sunshine on the water, the land banked under fog. That morning, when he took me in his boat, the screw purling, turning indolent fathoms white, I tasted freedom with him. To get out early, haul steadily off the bottom, dispraise the catch, and smile as you find a rhythm working you slow mile by mile into your proper haunt, somewhere well out beyond. Dawn sniffing revenant, plodder through midnight rain, question me again. That was Seamus Heaney's Casualty. I love this poem. Once upon a time, when I was in college, I studied Seamus Heaney for a whole semester. He was my junior poet at the University of Dallas. And we had, as a part of our project, to memorize a poem of our poets and talk about how it spoke to the whole canon of that poet's work. This was my poem. I do not have it memorized anymore. Clearly, I'm reading from his collected works. But one of the things I love about this poem is its honesty and authenticity as a portrait. Like I said at the beginning of this lockdown series, Seamus Heaney is known as a poem who spoke to political issues. But one of the things that I really value about him is he doesn't lose the humanity of the people that embody the issues. And so we have this really interesting character who he names, and I don't remember his name because I was reading on that Poetry Foundation article before I went online, but he names that individual who is the casualty of this sectarian warfare, Protestants and Catholics always fighting the troubles in Ireland. But this individual, right, who is probably an alcoholic, drinks naturally nightly like a fish. He says, like, when there is this act of sectarian violence against Catholics, and there's a curfew for everyone in their tribe, he disobeys the curfew and goes out, walks a ways away, I presume, to like a Protestant-owned pub, because that is the place that's blown to bits and where he dies. And so this is an inconvenient narrative, right, for Heaney's Catholic tribe. It's a casualty, right, in a deep sense of that word, and he inscribes that in his book of poetry. So I think I really value that Heaney takes the time to slow down, to paint a portrait of a person he knew and cared about, and asks that person, question me again. He's not settling for ideology. He's not settling for an easy answer. He's interested in a human being and a human life and that life story. That moves me, and I don't think that will ever not move me, and I don't think that will ever not be important, no matter what country you're living in or what political problems are happening. So that's why I love this poem. And again, if my history and knowledge of knowledge of Irish history is mistaken, I apologize. But I do remember studying and loving this poem as a young undergraduate. And like I said, I linked you to some more info on it. So thank you, Seamus Heaney, for this beautiful poem. Thank you all for listening on this Friday. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.